Hello, and welcome to Collision Repair Magazine's Industry Insider Podcast. Today, reporter Elizabeth Sargent sits down with an expert in industrial hygiene at Ryerson University. Associate Professor of Occupational Health and Safety Mohammad Abdoli-Eramaki speaks to short and long-term safety concerns when working in the collision repair industry.
What do you think are some of the biggest hazards for people who are working long-term in like the automotive industry, more specifically like in a collision repair shop or like an auto body shop?
Sure. Can I ask why you're not interested to short-term impact of the hazards in body shops? Because they also are important.
Yeah, well, give me both then. Perfect.
Okay,
short-term and long-term.
So the aspects of long-term, which we consider health hazards, fall into those five categories, correct?
Yeah.
So if, for example, in body shops, the mechanics deal with chemicals that are used for different purposes, for example, for cleaning. If they use the chemicals for cleaning the body parts when they doing the repair, they are exposed to those chemicals during the time. For example, like I said, cleaners, different solvents that are used for cleaning, other chemicals that are released during welding, for example, painting, chemicals that are released because while they are working on the body of some special cars that, especially those cars where in the body of the engine or around the engine they use asbestos, they are exposed to, by opening those areas or by welding those areas, they might get exposed to that type of chemicals. They use these days, for example, anti-freezing substances and other types of chemicals that are used in fuels very often. So those are just if they spill in the workplace, they gradually are exposed to them as well. There are different types. If you're interested, I can send you the list, but these are the main ones. The main ones that they, on a regular basis, these individuals are exposed to.
For sure. And so what are some, I guess, like easy ways for workers in collision repair shops that like are exposed to these? What are some easy ways to practice like industrial hygiene and like protect themselves from effects from that?
Sure. Let me also give you examples of other hazards if you're interested.
Yeah, for sure.
Physical hazards includes any type of noise that, as for example, they sand the body of the car, they cut pieces using grinders and grinding pieces. When they cut things, when they weld things at high speed, those are considered also as physical agents. Heat and cold distress are considered other categories of physical agents in the workplace. And obviously, during the winter time, Canadian body shoppers are exposed to cold stress all the time because sometimes they have to work outside or they have to keep the garage doors open. They are exposed to heat stress during the summertime because sometimes they have to repair things outside or the shop is not ventilated very well. So cold stress, heat stress are very common. Vibration of the tools that they have to always work with. Different types of drills and machineries that they have to use in order to get their job faster creates vibration that is transferred to their body through their hands and fingers. Those are also other categories of physical hazards that they're exposed to. Illumination. Sometimes they have to work in very dark environment, very bright environment that causes glare and reflection to their eyes that sometimes causes safety hazards because they get blind for a short period of time because of too much light, and then they move from one point to another, and then that makes them blind, and sometimes they're affected by that. That's physical agents. I mentioned those very quickly because, and also we have ergonomic hazards that is very common because of awkward postures.
Yeah, I was reading that.
exposed to all the time. So
Yeah.
the 4 or 5 main factors in ergonomic hazards is usually awkward postures, load that they have to weight repetitively.
Yeah.
So then that brings us to the third factor, which is frequency of the time that they have to do the job, and then period. Sometimes they have to stay in one posture for a long period of time, and that actually we usually consider these 4 factors as main factors that impact these individuals as ergonomic hazards. And then we have psychophysical.
Yeah.
Psychophysical happens for usually during the deadlines. Sometimes they can't get the job done on time. Sometimes they have to fight with customers and clients. All the examples that causes a stress for these individuals in their work are considered as psychosocial harassment, fights, new workers who are not familiar with the job, and they are sometimes harassed by their boss.
Yeah.
Pretty much very common issue. And biological hazards barely happens unless in in shops that they have ventilation systems. In auto shops, it's not very common. Biological hazards are not very common unless the ventilation systems are not functioning properly, and let's say they are exposed to some specific biological hazards that exist in the ventilation system.
Yeah.
They're exposed to them.
Okay.
For controlling everything that I have mentioned to you,
Yeah.
there are different methods.
Yeah.
From the top to the bottom. I haven't talked about safety yet. I don't know how much you want me to go to the details, but for every single of them, obviously, the most important factor is that these individuals work in shops that are designed for auto shops.
Yeah, for sure.
And obviously, for example, a good, very well-equipped shop includes the shops that, from chemical perspective, are equipped with ventilation systems, local and general ventilation systems that right after the chemicals are released, immediately they are captured and controlled in the spot.
Yeah.
For controlling chemical. For physical hazards, they have a specific locations that are completely isolated, and not everybody in the shop is exposed, and individuals who are exposed to them using proper, first of all, is isolated room, and only one person who is doing the job is exposed to.
Yeah.
And then second of all, they use proper personal protective equipment, for example, for noise or for the heat stress, cold stress. They are well prepared using the proper cover in order to control the cold. Or when it comes to heat stress, they follow all the requirements of ACGIH. I can talk about them if you like, but they follow all the instructions to make sure that they are not exposed to too much heat and are affected because of the heat stress. For ergonomics, you know that newly designed shops are equipped with tools that do not produce a lot of vibration. They can lift the car, they can lift the tires very easily, and the person doesn't have to do it personally. These individuals should be trained for proper lifting and proper ergonomic postures. The height of the car should be adjusted by these lifters so that they can work at the right height.
Yeah.
Individuals should be trained to exercise and work out on a daily basis, because some people think that working in these shops is considered as workout. But if you're physically active, it doesn't mean that you're working out, because working out has its own definition. You work actively to make the joints and all the body tissues uniformly at a certain stress so that body is circulated to those areas, and those tissues, because of that type of activity, can grow and enhance and build up.
Yeah.
With repetitive working, first of all, is mostly static. It's not dynamic. And by static, we mean that one tissue is under a lot of stress repetitively for a long period of time. And in that condition, because the acetic acids are built up in those tissues, they get hurt and they get damaged if that task or job is repetitive. So obviously, for controlling those conditions, you have to make sure that the shop that you rent or you purchase or you plan to use is equipped with proper equipment.
For sure.
And biological goes back to, again, personal protective equipment and proper ventilation system. Many of the shops that are equipped with ventilation systems should be monitored and basically inspected on a regular basis so that biological agents do not build up into them.
Yeah.
And for psychosocial stress, it is really important that the individuals work at the right pace, plan for their job, know that by doing the work at the stress, they might be able to do it once or twice, but the level of stress, mental stress, builds up to more errors and causes safety hazards to happen more often.
Yeah.
And if I want to basically outline the most important safety hazards in these workplaces, first of all, slipping and tripping and slipping hazards, that's very common.
Yeah.
If they don't clean up the surfaces, slip very quickly, they fall, and they break their joints, their body parts very easily. So this is the most common problem in these types of workplaces. Electrical hazard is very common. Falling objects that fall on their head or fall from the car that over them if they're not stable enough. Using the tools, all the practices that they have to do, they have to be trained when they use the tools. Their body parts can be caught by tools and they can get injured by the instruments. Working with grinding machines, drilling machines, it has to be done in a proper way. Electrocution is very common. They have to use proper instruments that are well isolated and grounded so that they're not electrocuted in those activities. These are the most common ones in auto shops.
Yeah.
Other things, it depends on the type of activities that they're doing, the type of tools that they're using, and the type of job they're doing. Those are safety hazards that happen in a short time and immediately impact the individuals. One thing that I have to tell you with regard to health hazards is that in body shops, people underestimate the exposure to chemicals.
Yeah.
They say, it's a couple of seconds. This paint is released here and there. It's not a big deal. But they don't understand that when we talk about long-term exposure, we're talking about years and years that these chemicals or physical hazards impact the tissues gradually. For example, noise, exposure to noise for a short period of time is not a big deal. But every day, on a daily basis, 25% hearing loss. If I work in those circumstances, my hearing loss reaches to 50%. These are the individuals that have to use hearing aids at the age of 70 and 80. And there are tons of studies shows that hearing aids are not helpful in these circumstances. For chemicals, for example, a lot of the chemicals that these individuals are exposed to are accumulated or are sort of, what do you call it, saved in our body, stored in our body.
Yeah.
So when they're stored in fat, gradually they can cause cancer or so many severe issues. Nervous system are impacted, and almost in all of the circumstances, for majority of the chemicals that these individuals are exposed to, there's no way that you can treat these individuals or bring them back to their normal condition, because once the chemical damages the myelin of the nerves. The nerves, obviously, they never can get healed, and they cannot be operated. They cannot be fixed. Similar to other systems, the way the hearing loss happens for other systems, there's no way that you can fix the other system. And majority of the operations have been shown that are not sufficient to fix the ear, because once the neurons and corti organs in the other systems are damaged, there's no way that you can fix them. So, in another word, the best way is to prevent, to train these individuals, to show them how these elements can impact them gradually. It's not that they see the impact now, today. Yeah. They see the impact when it's too late, when they are too old, when they have lost these organs that cannot be seen. And most of the times, they can't see what's happening to their tissues, to their kidneys, liver, like I said, nervous system, to their blood. They don't see it. Yeah.